Nothing is worse than getting a brand new piece of pretty cardstock, loading it up on your mat, and then having your Cricut machine completely destroy your paper. So today we're going to talk about the best way to determine cut settings for specific types of paper when it's a new to you paper. Maybe it's the first time you've cut this brand or first time you've cut this type of paper. So we're going to jump into the software a little bit. I'm going to show you what I do in order to test cut, not ruin a whole sheet of paper, and determine what cut settings to use. Thanks for being here at 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop. Please hit the like and subscribe button and let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is try and determine the weight of my paper. So on 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop's site, we actually usually have the paper weight labeled for you, so that's very helpful. But if you don't know the weight of a paper, the best thing to do is to grab a piece that you know. So this is American Crafts, which I know is 80 pound. I already know the weight of this one, and I'm gonna feel this one. This is Encore Glitter Luxe. So I'm gonna just kind of feel the two, see if they feel similar or different. This one feels much thicker, the glitter. Besides, I'm dealing with kind of that rougher texture. So I think I know what my cut settings are on this. I usually use a medium cardstock setting from the American Crafts. So that tells me I probably need to start a little higher on this. So at first, this is just kind of a guessing game. We're just going to use our best guess to try and figure out where to start. And then from there, we'll refine it and figure out exactly what's right. So let's jump into the software. What we're going to do is open Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to come over here to the left and choose Shapes, and I'm going to choose a square. Now I want to make this square as small as I can so that I'm not using up a lot of paper to test cut it. So I'm going to drag this into the corner here so I can use the mat for measuring, and I'm going to shrink this down so that it's less than 1/2 inch. All right, perfect. Click Make. Now I am going to choose my settings. So we talked about how I know that my American Crafts is 80 pounds. This feels quite a bit thicker. So I think the heavy cardstock setting would be a good option. The other thing, Cricut is really good about loading all the materials in here. They're not always quite right. So for instance, this is a glitter cardstock, and Cricut does offer glitter cardstock as well, but it's not going to be the same glitter cardstock. So you can choose, you can opt for their settings, their standard settings as well, that's a great place to start too. So I'm going to find glitter, and they do have a glitter cardstock setting. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to get my paper loaded and we'll test cut it. All right, we're going to go ahead and get our paper on our mat. And I actually like to use a brayer. This is, you can just buy these at any arts and crafts store, and it just rolls. It's made for applying ink, but it helps get the bubbles out of your paper and get it firmly adhered to your mat. So that's a good cutting tip as well to help get your paper on your mat. All right, so let's get this loaded. All right, let's go ahead and see how this did. Now I did notice that the glitter cardstock setting double cut, so it's auto set to double cut. So let's see how this did. Okay, so it mostly cut, but just still has a few pieces. It didn't come out cleanly. I had to kind of tear it. You can see the corners kind of torn there. So let's give this another shot. Back into the software. And I'm going to just do another cut. So what I'm going to drag my little box just over a bit so that I'm just still using the very edges of the cardstock. You could even move it to a different corner if you'd like, but we're going to just stay right up here. That still leaves all of this usable area once we figure this out. I'm going to find glitter cardstock again. Now I did notice that this double cut on its own. So the glitter cardstock setting must be set to just double cut. So that's at this point where it almost cut through but didn't quite. I would try two things. I would either double cut, which this already did, so I don't need to test that, or I can just bump my pressure up a little. So if I choose more, a lot of times this will be enough to just kind of adjust this more. So we're going to go ahead and test cut this now. If I wanted to double cut, let's say this wasn't set to a double cut automatically, I would just go ahead and cut it once, and before I unloaded the mat, I would just click the cut button again and just let it cut again in the exact same spot. If you unload your mat, then you risk not having it line up perfectly, so you want to just leave your mat in and just hit cut again. But like I said, glitter cardstock already has in the settings to double cut. So let's try this with the pressure bumped up to more and see how this does. Let's see how we did. And it looks like that did the trick. Came right out, nice clean cut. So now we know that that's the trick. All right, so let's jump back into the software for one more tip. Okay, so now that I know that the cut setting that works for this type of glitter cardstock is the glitter cardstock setting with the pressure bumped up to more. So what I can do, I can just remember that if I want, or there's a way to make an adjustment in your program. So let's do Browse All Materials, and then you come down here to Material Settings at the bottom left. And now I'm going to find Glitter Cardstock. All right, so here's our glitter cardstock setting. We can see that the factory settings are 263 grams of pressure and with a double cut with the fine point blade. So we're going to go ahead and hit edit. And I know that I needed a little bit more pressure in order to make this work. So I can just drag this little slider up a bit. It didn't take much pressure, so I'm gonna guess that that's about right, and I'm gonna hit save. And now my glitter cardstock settings are saved so that I can just select glitter cardstock and it will cut this paper where it needs to be. So I hope that's helpful. And then you can just X out of this. And then one more thing you can do, just let me show you this in case you don't know how to save a material as a favorite. I'm going to come back down here to glitter cardstock, and if I select this little flag, it tags it as one of my favorites, and now it will show up when I go to cut. It will just automatically show up in my docking bar. Okay, and one more tip. Let's say that you're cutting something a bit more tricky, like maybe our balsa wood, real wood paper. Those can be a little trickier to figure out, and the reason for that is that Cricut's settings often include specialty blades. Now I own some of these specialty blades, but I like to try to figure out the settings without using those specialty blades because I know a lot of people don't own them. So if we look under cutting materials here for the factory settings, balsa wood, that's probably a pretty close match. This one looks way thicker than what ours is, and it looks like it uses the knife blade. So that probably wouldn't be a good setting. There is a natural wood veneer, which I think is probably closer to what ours is. And it has 335 grams of pressure, and it's a 4-time cut with a deep point blade. So if I don't, maybe I have the deep point blade and that's great. If I don't have the deep point blade and I want to try to figure out what to do, like how to cut this with just my regular blade, this is a good place to look to kind of just get an idea the grams of pressure. So the natural wood veneer, I can see 335 grams of pressure and cut 4 times. So let's see what else takes about that pressure. This one right here, 335 is natural wood veneer. Metallic poster board is at a 350 with a double cut. So I might want to try the metallic poster board setting for my natural wood veneer. This one allows me to use the fine point blade. So this will be a good place to kind of start and then make my adjustments. Maybe I do this and do less pressure, and maybe I hit cut again after it cuts without removing the mat. But that just kind of gives you an idea. You can look in the cut settings for whatever Cricut's recommendations are. And if the blade doesn't match what you have, then you can kind of try to find a comparison. I hope that makes sense. But that will help you kind of determine cut settings and using that fine point blade. Now there is actually a way to create your own materials. We're going to cover that in another video, so stay tuned for that. So there you have it. I hope that was helpful. It helps you to cut papers confidently and not destroy entire sheets of paper. Be sure and check out our other videos here on our channel. We've got lots of great projects and some helpful tips for cutting and using cardstock. Have a great day.